And so if there is a point in time for Q&A, then anybody, I'll take it. No, I'll take it now. So if there's any point in time for the Q&A, the people on Clubhouse will then be able to unmute, or the people in the chat will be able to um, type in a question. But until then, Tally, you could bring anybody up on stage. Like if it's somebody from the school, anybody we normally would bring on the stage, that's cool. But if everybody could just stay muted while we're doing the debate, because what you say will be heard by everybody. So whoever we would normally bring on stage, Sally, you have free range to do so. And then, of course, if y'all could share and ping the room. Also, if you want to watch this live on YouTube, if you want to see my ugly face, Salakia, I'm going to put the link in the chat. And then if y'all want to see it that way as well. So just bear with me 1 second, y'all. And I appreciate y'all joining me. I just, ran that one white boy off last. We'll see what I could do with this white boy. So I'm just going to put this in the chat. Oh, wait, let me see. Hold on. I'll be feeling like I'm retarded sometimes when it comes to Clubhouse. I'm gonna put this in the chat. So I'll put the link in the chat. Tally, as a mod. As a mod, Tally, can you grab that chat? Can you grab that link in the chat and pin it to the top for me, Tally, if you don't mind? I appreciate it. And like I said, if anybody wants to come up, y'all can come up just as long as y'all stay muted. The only time, of course, you can unmute is when the Q&A comes in, and then we'll rock and roll from there. If anybody could just share, if everybody could just share, I would greatly appreciate it. Tally, you got my number, so if there's any audio issues or something, just text me, and I'll tighten it up from there. All right?
Okay.
All right, the water. Now to my YouTube people, I'm about to tell y'all the same thing I just told my Clubhouse people. If y'all wasn't listening, can y'all hear me? If y'all can hear me, give me a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If y'all can hear me all right on the live stream. Shalom, shout out to Michael Love, Christy Balcom. Hope I said that right. Jude Benjamin, Pedro, Rihanna, Michael. I'm good. All right. So as I was saying, we're about to have a good old debate. We're gonna see. It's about the genocide in Gaza. We'll talk about history. Just to let y'all know, one of the things that I do want to intentionally touch on is anti-Semitism, because I think it's an appropriation that they don't only have the right to use if they choose to use it, and call other people anti-Semitic that are actually Semitic makes no sense. So I do want to delve into that. So I'm gonna be clicking the link, joining Ralph's live stream as soon as I can find it. Did I send it? Okay. All right. So let me share my screen, and then I got y'all covered. All right. Can y'all hear me all right? I think hold on, let me see. Allow. Y'all let me know if y'all can hear me all right or not. Allow. Okay, I said I clicked allow. Okay. Allow on every visit. There we go. I'm gonna ask to join. All right, so I'm good. Sounding nice and clear. Tested 1, 2, 1, 2. I don't think I'll be that loud. I'm lying. I'm a Gas and a West. My mother's side and father's side was loud as hell, so I ain't heard. Yeah, the guy I'm battling is, I believe he's Amalek. Yes, or Ashkenaz. Ashkenazi. Hey, I might play a
join us on Rumble, and I'll be back. Both these guys can hear me. Just give me 1 second. I'll pull you on the screen, and we'll start this thing up. But Kick, no, they don't really like it when I do shows like this. So I'll cease transmission on Kick. Please join us on Rumble. We'll come back to Kick later. Thank you all for the support on Kick. It's very much appreciated.
Yo, he looks crazy as hell to me.
Okay. Now, we'll stop on kick. Now, let me move these guys over where they can be seen. They can hear each other, and they should be able to see me as well, but we can't hear them just yet. Okay. Now, let me resize this. All right. Okay. Now, let me unmute. Both people are here. Charles Moscowvitz, you're on the screen right now. How's it going, sir?
Good, fine, thanks. Good to see you.
Very good to see you as well. Captain, you're here too. How you doing, man?
I'm doing pretty good today. How you doing, Ralph?
I'm doing great, man. It's good to see you as well.
Oh man, always good.
It's always good. Always good to see the captain on the kill stream. Now, okay, so Charles, you've not done one of these debates on the kill stream, so I'll kind of lay it out. What I usually do is let each person talk really like a max of 10 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes. I don't put a clock on it, but if it goes really long, I might say, hey, wrap it at the start to give their opening statement. And then after that, it's kind of just back and forth between the two participants, and I may interrupt here and there with a question or to stop you guys talking over each other. But for the most part, it's a participant-driven debate, right? Because I just feel like those are more entertaining. But I will step in here or there, or if I feel like I need to, if you guys start talking over each other a ton or whatever. But that's kind of how I do it. Mostly hands off. That's how we do it here on the kill stream. But I'll let you start. Now, again, I'll remind people, and we could get off into some other stuff too. But the topic of the debate is actually Gaza and whether or not Israel is perpetrating a genocide in Gaza. And so, would you like to start, Charles, or would you like Captain to start? I had in my mind that you would start, but it's up to either if you want to start.
Happy to start. That's fine.
Okay, go ahead. I'll let you start.
All right. Thanks so much, Ethan and Captain.
Mm-hmm.
I would argue that Israel is not engaging in any kind of a genocide in Gaza. Let's give a little historic background. In 1995, Israel withdrew from Gaza completely under the government of Ariel Sharon, who was a pretty hawkish prime minister of Israel. Not only did they completely withdraw, but they also stripped away all of the Jewish residents of Gaza, about 10,000 people, in some cases at gunpoint. They didn't want to leave. They helped the Palestinian Authority develop a police force, a security force. Money was pouring into Gaza from all over the world, including the United States. Gaza is not a poor place, as anyone can see from pictures of the city. It's beachfront property, and there's a lot going on there. The Palestinian Authority and the people of Gaza had the opportunity to turn Gaza into what could have been described as like a Singapore or a Hong Kong. I mean, they had every opportunity to do this. And Israel was offering more. They had also withdrawn at the time, which is lesser known, from Jericho. And they were talking about withdrawing from other parts of Judea and Samaria.
919.
Israel asked nothing in return other than one simple expectation, and that was that they hoped that they would have a peaceful border there, so that the people of Israel could continue with their farms and their villages and live in peace. But unfortunately, about 2 years afterwards, Hamas was elected. They took over Gaza as a dictatorship, and they basically killed hundreds of Palestinian Authority people. And they began to launch a war against Israel. They launched something like in the vicinity of 6,000 missiles into Israel. They began to build this incredible tunnel network that we're now discovering, including tunnels into Israel, where they would come out and try to kill as many Jews and Israelis as possible. And every time Israel would try to get a ceasefire, they would immediately start firing again. They didn't even pay any attention to the ceasefires. And this continued for years, and it got more creative in that they started to float gas balloons into Israel to burn the fields. And try every kind of terror they could try. There was a huge shipment of arms and munitions from Iran, and called the Karine A, that the Israeli Navy intercepted. So they had to put up a blockade. Eventually, of course, the final straw was the October 6th attack, the so-called flood, which had been originally patented by Soleimani, in which they just flooded into Israel and slaughtered as many people as they could, raping women, killing every person they could reach at that music festival and also in several villages alongside the border. And so I would argue that Israel, acting like any sane sovereign state, has a right to defend the lives and the property of its own people. In fact, to do otherwise, you would forfeit the right to be a sovereign state. So Israel is now in the process of getting rid of these forces that are trying to kill them. Now, I don't think that they're trying to do a genocide. They're not trying to kill innocent people. The problem is it's very complicated. The combatants in Hamas put on civilian clothes, even though they have military gear, and they hide behind innocent people. They hide behind families. And so Israel has to go through the very difficult process of trying to find them, and to try to find the tunnels and find the missile launchers and find the military sites amongst the civilian population. I would argue that it's a difficult job, and they are doing it as best they can under the circumstances.
Go ahead, Captain.
No problem. I think you meant 2005, not 1995. Am I correct?
No, 1995 was the year that. Oh no, yeah, it was two. Thank you.
Looking it up when you said that, and I didn't see 1995, but
yeah, you're right. I meant
right.
2000.
And then in 2007, when I look up the history, the part that you're missing, after Hamas, when they seized it, it was like Israel put up a blockade. But when you mention history, one would also argue that you can't go to 2005 history. You would have to go to the history of you would say before y'all got there. So if you're talking about, let's say in the early 1900s, when y'all first got there, one would argue that the Palestinians being displaced, when they were promised not to be displaced, when they were promised not to lose their religion, when they was promised not to lose their way of life, only to lose it. And initially, there was a limit of how many immigrants could come into the land with the bill for that. So one could say that your breaking of the rules is the actual cause of the conflict. Now, me, myself personally, I don't care for either party, but I can judge a matter. What I mean by I don't care for either party, like the land really belongs to the children of Israel. That's a conversation maybe we can get to at some point.
Yes.
Obviously, we believe differently who the children of Israel are. Okay, no problem. We'll see. So when we talk about history, historically, it was colonialism that you guys went to imply on the Palestinians that has caused this never-ending war. So when you say genocide, when we look at the numbers of deaths, it wouldn't even be comparable with the deaths of the Palestinian or the Arabian people as opposed to your people. You can also argue that the Palestinians invited you in. I can play a video if you want to see where y'all came in on the boat in like 1935. Y'all come in on the boat and like, don't hurt us like the Germans hurt us. And they brought y'all in. And then when they brought y'all in, y'all began to eradicate them. So you would be the cause of their fight or of their plight. It's like if I'm trying to come in and destroy your home and live in your home and you're fighting me in my home, you're not wrong for retaliating against me because I'm invading your home. So you guys are invading their home and then get mad when they fight back. That's how I look at it as an outsider that have nothing invested in Israeli people or Palestinian people, being able to look at it objectively. I would say that you guys are genociding, and you won't stop until even. And I'll end on this. What's your current prime minister's name? I don't want to mess up the Hebrew.
Benjamin Netanyahu.
Netanyahu, right?
Mm-hmm.
Netanyahu made a point to say that we're going to remember them like Amalek, right? You familiar with that statement? You know, when Amalek did what they did was Amalek purposely targeted the weak and the elderly.
Exactly.
Right. And so that's the reason that the Lord told King Saul to get vengeance on them.
That's right.
The Palestinians aren't going after the weak and elderly. Y'all are in reverse, because it's like 30-something thousand.
They did on October 8th, and I don't mean to interrupt here, but that's exactly what they did.
Well, y'all, when we look at the death tolls right now, they are at 30,000 dead. Israelis,
according to Hamas, by the way.
The Israelis hypothesize that 10,000 of those are military.
Right.
So that would be 20,000 civilians. Y'all are only at like what, 1,400?
Well, I mean,
so when you
first of all, I mean, you also have to factor in how many of the Palestinians have been killed by Hamas itself, because they keep misfiring their missiles and they keep killing people that they suspect as traitors, like these 30 people that were found dead in black plastic bags.
That sounds like propaganda, but I want to ask my question. If you take, if it's 30,000 and I minus the 10,000 that they say are military, which you could say the military signed up for it. So if you got 20,000 compared to 1,400, what's this genocide side? Is it the Palestinians are being genocide, or are the Israelis?
Well, let me ask you a question. Do you think
wait, you got to answer my question first, though.
I will, with a question.
Okay,
in typical Jewish fashion, okay?
Yeah, okay.
Which is, that's not, it's like a Talmudic
meaning
approach.
he ain't going to answer. Meaning he ain't.
Well, I'll answer it. Here, I'll give you my answer in the form of a question.
Right.
Do you think that Israel and the IDF is deliberately and consciously trying to kill innocent people?
Yes.
Okay, well, I disagree with you. I think they're trying to kill combatants, and the combatants are hiding behind innocent people. Israel's not trying to kill women and children. They never. Why would they do that?
They destroy hospitals with women and children.
With terror tunnels underneath, and with they finding all these, munitions in the hospitals. Why is Hamas building that at a hospital?
So think about what you just said. I said is destroying hospitals with women and children. You just gave me an excuse to kill women and children. I'm
explaining why they had to do it.
I'm not saying
that's where their military headquarters is.
Just listen to what I'm saying. They are killing innocents. You trying to say that?
I'm trying to say they're trying to avoid that when possible. But when you put a bomb,
right? If you put the weapons where the hospital is at, they're gonna say, F these kids, F these women. We're gonna bomb the hospital.
No, you have to ask, why is it the F the children and women that Hamas is putting bombs next to their beds? Why are they using hospitals as a place to set up a military base?
Right.
Why are they using orphanages?
Did they find the weapons there?
Yes, they have found weapons there, according to any international observers. They have found massive weapons there, and they found tunnels and headquarters right underneath these rooms. Yes, they have.
Yeah, tunnels is anywhere, and I don't think you're in a position.
No. The headquarters was found at that hospital you're talking about.
All I was going to say, when it comes to tunnels, I don't know if you want to talk about tunnels, because the Jewish people had that tunnel out here. So y'all just as good at tunnels as the Palestinians.
Were they using it to kill people?
They was using it to do all type of.
You're talking about the Chabad tunnel in New York. That has nothing to do with Israel.
That has everything. Were they not Jewish?
Yeah, but they were not. They're Americans. They're not Israelis. They're building that in order to have a mikvah, and in order to these kids, these hooligans, these Chabad hooligans, were using it.
Bad Jewish people.
No, that's a nothing burger. But to get back to your history.
No, not the history.
I want to address that.
One at a time.
Not the history part. I don't mind the history part, but just on the record, if there's weapons at a hospital and there's women and children there, you're going to kill the women and children.
You try your best not to, but you have to get the military.
Just a yes or no. Just a yes or no.
Yes, you are, but you have to try not to.
You can't say that you're not genocide.
I'm not saying that innocent people aren't being killed. I'm explaining why.
Is genocide.
No, genocide is if you deliberately and consciously try to kill people based upon their ethnic background.
That is deliberate.
No, it's actually Israelis. The Israeli army and the soldiers are putting their lives at risk.
You know what's
know,
not deliberate? If they blow up a warehouse and then they find out that women and children was in the warehouse.
I'll tell you what. You know what would be
what they're doing is you're counting the costs, and you say it's better to kill the women and children to get these supposed weapons out of here than to leave these women and children alive, and then they take these weapons and use them on us. That's your hypothesis. So
look, if Israel wanted to kill women and children, they could drop a big fat bomb on the whole place. But instead, they have soldiers have to go there and get killed themselves to try to find their enemies' rocket launchers, which are being used to kill Israelis. So the question is, why are they putting rocket launchers and building terror tunnels underneath civilian locations in violation of all standards of international law and custom?
That's a good question. And it goes right back to your forced occupancy of Palestine.
Israel wasn't occupying Gaza.
No,
Israel. I just explained in the beginning. Israel completely withdrew from Gaza.
That's not what I'm talking about.
We're talking about Gaza. That's the subject here.
No. What I mean is when we talk about the history, like when we talking about Gaza, you only withdrew. It says from 2005 to 2006. No one on this live stream is going to believe that all of Israel can withdraw in a year. No one's going to believe that
from Gaza.
Yeah,
but they did.
No, not completely. No one's.
Yes, they did completely, 100%.
No,
Israel completely withdrew from Gaza, and Gaza had the opportunity to create a responsible state that would have been sovereign and that could have existed peacefully alongside Israel. Instead, they chose to invade Israel. That's the facts. Those are history.
No, that's
the history.
That's not the history of Palestine, because again,
no, but it's the history of Gaza. But I'll talk about Palestine.
Let Captain get in, and I'll let you get back in, Charles. Go ahead.
Gaza in Palestine or Israel?
Well, Palestine. First of all, I would argue that Palestine is Israel.
But I'm asking you, is Gaza in Palestine or Israel?
Well, right now, I think it's pretty much in Israel because they've occupied. They've had to reoccupy it, unfortunately, which they did not want to do.
And then Israel itself. Was that at one time Palestine before 48?
Yes, it was Jewish Palestine. Yes, it was.
No, it was just all Palestine, and then it got divided, right?
Well, it got divided in 1921 between Jewish Palestine and Arab Palestine, or what's called Cisjordan and Transjordan. Transjordan eventually became the Arab Kingdom of Jordan, and Cisjordan eventually became the Jewish state of Israel. So Palestine was divided at that time.
Right. And how was it divided?
It was divided along the Jordan River with the west part.
So what I'm asking you, when I say how was it divided like the Palestinians wanted to divide, or they did not want to divide? Were they promised that it was going to be okay to have it divided? Like, that's what I'm asking. That's the history that I'm talking about.
Well, it's okay. Let me address the entire history here.
Thank you.
You're welcome. First of all, the Jews didn't just show up in that miserable little strip of land that we now know as Israel.
Good.
I get into this in my book, The Anti-Semitic Imagination. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Where I point out that Jews have always lived there, especially in the cities, that Zionism is a movement that is nothing more and nothing less than the national and religious aspirations of the Jewish sovereignty in their homeland. And I get into this year by year, decade by decade in my new book, The Anti-Semitic Imagination. Those are facts of history. As far as Arabs in Palestine go, and the word Palestine, by the way, traces back to the Roman times. The Roman Emperor Hadrian named it Palestine after he destroyed Jerusalem after the Bar Kokhba rebellion, because he figured the Jewish people are finished. They're over. So he renamed it after their worst enemy, which are the Philistines. That's where the word Palestine comes from. Although more recent scholars say that the word Palestine actually is a derivative from the word Judea. And I think there might be some truth to that. But either way, every generation has seen the Jewish people trying to go back there and to reassert their sovereignty. They really started to immigrate in larger numbers after 1800, and when Napoleon briefly occupied the region from the Turks. It had been under control of the Turks. At that time, it was known as South Syria. After World War I, the British and the French divided up the region, and they betrayed the Arabs when they did that. And they gave the British section to the Jewish people after the signing of the Balfour Declaration. Now, what's not known about that is that at the same time, the Arab head of state, King Faisal bin Hussein, who is recognized as the main figure in the Arab world, he's a direct descendant of the Prophet Muhammad. He signed an agreement with Chaim Weizmann, who was the head of the World Zionist Organization, recognizing Israel, Jewish Palestine in 1917, February 6th of 1917. It was, or 1918, I'm sorry. It was part of the Paris Peace Agreement that ended World War I. And the reason he did it was because he could see that the Jewish people who were immigrating into Palestine at the time were creating this incredible, dynamic, organic society where they were growing crops and they were building businesses and they were developing democracy and developing technology. And he wanted the same thing for his Arab countries after World War I. And so he figured that by this nationalist movement would work hand in glove with Arab nationalist movements. And together they would develop sovereignty. At the time, he wrote a letter to Felix Frankfurter, who was the president of Harvard Law School and who's a major Jewish Zionist figure, saying, I want to welcome our cousins home to their homeland. I want to give you a hearty welcome home. And the attitude amongst a lot of Arabs at that time was that they could coexist with this new state as long as Israel reached two conditions, which they've met. The first is that they would respect the rights of the Arab minority. And the second was that they would respect the sacredness of Islamic holy sites. Israel has done that. They haven't done it perfectly, but they've tried to do it, and they've basically done that. The problem is that there was a more radical element within the Arab world that overtook King Faisal and launched a war against the newly arriving Israelis. The only other thing I want to note before we go on with you, Captain, is that most of the Palestinians who are now claiming to have been there, and they say the Israelis kicked them out, they started to emigrate into that region around the same time that there was an increase in Jewish immigration at the end of the 19th century. And the reason they started to emigrate there was because the Jews were building businesses and they were developing cities and they were developing farms, and they wanted to work and they wanted to take advantage of it. They wanted, they wanted to be a part of it. But they're not descended from any kind of ancient people. They all started to arrive essentially at the same time. I mean, if you look at Yasser Arafat, for example, he was Egyptian. I mean, there were a couple of very aristocratic Arab families that are still there that had been there all along, and there were Jewish families as well. But it's a little deceptive to say that they had some kind of an indigenous right to the region, because they really started immigrating en masse around the same time as the Jews started immigrating en masse, which started in the late 19th century. How else would I? Right. Let's look at a little Jewish perspective, right? You know the Jews, right? We can be a little tricky, all right? I'm just a whole lot of trickiness. No, I'm saying it as I know it. Yeah. Modern Zionism, not Zion. As I said, Zionism is part of Judaism.
No, wait, let him finish. Go ahead, Kevin. Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, I was let him go because we have a respectful so far. Go ahead, Captain.
From my other thing. Okay. So what I was saying was, you got you threw me off a little bit. So you got the Jewish Colonial Trust. That's the original name of the bank, Lumai, if I'm saying it wrong.
Lumi. Yep.
I appreciate that. That's two. Lumi. The original name was Jewish Colonial Trust. Why do people think it was colonial? Because colonial goes with colonize, colonialism, things that other nations do when they take another people's land and then imprint their way of life onto that land. You can look up Theodore Herzl's letter where he spoke about colonizing. I believe the letter was to, let me see if I can find it in my notes. I believe the letter was to, oh my God, man, I can't find, oh yeah, to Cecil Rhodes. Because Cecil Rhodes, he had just did the same thing. He had colonized Shona in Africa and renamed it Rhodesia. And Herzl applauded that effort. And it says it doesn't involve Africa, but a piece of Asia Minor, not Englishmen, but Jews that colonized in Africa. Because, you know, Jewish people try to be innocent of these things, but they're colonizers just like every other white man is a colonizer. It says, so how then do I happen to turn to you in this way out of the matter for you? How indeed? Because it is something colonial. You, Mr. Rhodes, are a visionary politician or practical visionary. I want you put the stamp of your authority on the Zionist plan and to make the following declaration a few people to swear by you. This was always the Zionist plan, to colonize Palestine. That was the plan. So when you go, that's what the bank was for. That's why it was originally called Jewish Colonial Trust. That was built specifically for the hope of establishing the land that ultimately became Israel, but it probably could have been anywhere. And they would have been fine with it being anywhere, but they wanted their own land. Then from there, you have the letter that Belfort wrote to Mr. Rothschild. And it says, I have much pleasure in conveying to you on behalf of His Majesty's government the following declaration of sympathy with Jewish Zionist aspirations. Which, side note, is really weird when you got Belfort and them having this so-called empathy, because even when I read your book and when I looked up online, European nations wasn't really rocking with y'all as far as allowing y'all to come into their country en masse. Like, people like to make it seem like Hitler just didn't want y'all there, but the British didn't want y'all, America didn't want y'all, Poland, no nation, no European nation. And you say this in your book. As a matter of fact, in your book, you highlight that the earth played a part in what Hitler did in the Holocaust. Right. You know what I mean? So you guys, what I want to show here is that the desire to go to Palestine preceded Hitler, preceded Germany. Sure. It had nothing to do with the Holocaust. And that's what most people believe. And that's the sympathy that the so-called, the Jewish man plays on. He plays on that the Jewish people were slaughtered to the tune of 6 million. And because of that, you get so much sympathy. But what they don't realize is that Herzl was trying to colonize Palestine and put the plan in effect in the 1890s.
Oh, yeah, no question. I don't disagree with that.
When we have the Belfort, so now remember, the subject is genocide. You colonize a people by genocide. This is the Belfort Declaration. It shows that even during the First World, okay, I just broke that down. So I want to go to my next. I'm going to try to be short. I know you went about 8 minutes. I'm going to try to be short. The Belfort Declaration, this is what the Belfort Declaration was. It says it was endorsed by the principal Allied powers and was included in the British mandate over Palestine, formally approved by the newly created League of Nations. By the way, the League of Nations are just as horrible, because what they would do is when they defeated the German and Ottoman Turk in World War, their Asian and African possessions, which were not judged ready to govern themselves. So now after the war with the Ottoman Turks, the lands that was left, meaning the Africans and Asians that was left, they would judge not to be able to govern themselves, not by the Asians and Africans, but by the ruling powers that just chose to say that they could. And what I want to show a timeline is, this is what all white people think. All white people think, man, we have to judge them. We have to govern them. We have to colonize them. So now the Balfour Declaration stated that in May 19th, the British government, in May 1939, the British government altered its policy in white paper recommending a limit of 75,000 further immigrants and an end to immigration by 1944. This is what the Balfour Declaration was supposed to be, unless the resident Palestinian Arabs of the region consented to further immigration. Zionists condemned the new policy. Why? Because their whole goal was to colonize, even if that meant destroying the people that lived there. This point was made moot by the outbreak of World War II and the founding of the State of Israel. I'm gonna keep going. This what I have here, and I would share my screen if y'all need to see this. But a lot of people also believe that there was no Jewish people working in the German or the Nazi regime. That's also not true. In the beginning of the Nazi rule in Germany, the Zionist movement was inclined to cooperate with the line that the Nazi government adopted at the time, encouraging immigration of German Jews to Eretz Israel. So it wasn't even a direct opposing at that time, because they're working with the Germans to move to Eretz Israel. In the spring of 1933, the leaders of German Zionist Association decided to contact elements within the Nazi party who might support the Zionist cause. Kurt Tussler, a German Jewish lawyer and judge and member of the managing committee of Germans. So now we have Jewish people that are in positions within what y'all would call the Nazi party, working with the Nazis. So you can't even say that the Nazis was against all of them, just I guess as a whole. So then you have the video I was telling y'all about, where in 1943, when the Jewish refugees entered Palestine, they was carrying a banner saying, "Germans destroyed our families and our homes. Don't you destroy our families and homes." And you know what the Palestinians did? They welcomed them in there. And what happened after that is where the bloodshed came. Are you aware? Oh, I'm sorry. Before I skip to the bloodshed, then you got Harry Truman, who took a bribe. And I know, I think I heard you speak about this. Matter of fact, I watched the interview with you and Ralph, and y'all laughed because y'all said he was right to take the bribe if he did take the bribe. Am I correct? Yeah. So you don't even dispute that he took.
No, I don't know if he did or not, but if he did, it was money well spent.
Right. That's what you said. Right. That's as you said. Right. So.
Well, yeah, I didn't say. By the way, I want to clarify. I didn't say he was right to take the bribe. I said it was a good play by the Jews. Did that, right. I just want to clarify.
We got that. Ralph,
don't put me in there. Hold on now. Wait a minute. All right, go ahead.
No problem. So now, even when you look at the letter that he wrote. When you look at the red letter that he wrote, it says the government has been informed that a Jewish state has been proclaimed in Palestine, and recognition has been requested by the provisional government thereof. The United States recognizes the provisional government a de facto authority. The provisional is added; it's not written in there initially. So even in that, it lets you know Truman was bribed to do that because other presidents did not want y'all, as you admitted. The other president, America, did not want y'all to come over there. Palestine was the only place that can happen. Right after that, you had Nakba. You familiar with Nakba?
Yes, of course.
Right. So Nakba was the ethnic cleansing of Palestinians in the mandatory Palestinian during the 1948 Palestinian War through their violent displacement and dispossession of the land. This is why history can't start at 2005 with this conversation. History has to start with the Zionist movement wanting to colonize Palestine for their gain, and Palestine never giving up and always fighting back, no matter what they may have to do. And the advantage that Israel has, or the Israelis has, is that y'all have America backing y'all today. You have Great Britain or Europe backing y'all, not Europe, but Great Britain backing y'all today. And Hamas and them don't have that. That's why, that's why. But Iran is not America. America is the number one super.
Yeah, but Iran is an oil rich and powerful, and
they don't have
the Arab
weapons. They don't have drones. They don't have all of that to fight against y'all. So, no, they don't. Why
They just
do you think they have to
their
put their
proxies, the Houthis, just use drones to hit American boats.
Why do you think they have to put their weapons, like you said, in hospitals? Because they don't have a military force like y'all have, and the back
That's a tremendous military force.
America.
And Hezbollah has an even bigger one on the northern border.
That's cap. So it says during the foundational events of Nakba in 1948, dozens of massacres targeting Arabs were conducted over 5 Arab majority towns, and 750,000 Palestinians or Arabian people were killed at the hands of Zionist militia. So when we talk about,
I've never heard that figure before.
Yeah, that's the number.
You know, can I have a shot here?
Yeah, no, you're good.
Okay. There's a lot to address. I mean, first of all, you're absolutely right. I mean, it didn't start in 2005, and it didn't start with the Nazi movement. As I said earlier, the real immigration started mid to late 19th century, but every generation has seen Jewish immigration to their Holy Land. I would argue that it started with Abraham. When God told Abraham to go up to that land that I will show you, that miserable little piece of beachfront, I don't know why he chose Israel, but that's what God commanded Abraham to do. And Abraham did that. So, you know, it goes way back. It's every generation that we're commanded to do this. Now, as far as that Herzl and the colonial and all that, I think you're correct in that the modern Zionists were inspired by the European colonial movements, and they did model themselves after it. The only difference here, and it's kind of an obvious one, frankly, is that Israel wasn't a colony, because a colony requires a motherland that then sends out military people and others to conquer another country. There is no Jewish state by which they were sent out. They were kicked out of Europe. Nobody wanted, they wanted them to leave Europe. The Israelis, or the Jews, organically settled that land. They weren't colonizers. They were settlers. And as far as colonialism goes, I'm not in favor of it, especially in Africa. But, it's also kind of a mixed bag in that, look, the American country was, in a sense, colonized by Europeans, and they fought wars against Native Americans. Those are just facts of history. If you want to really go back, it was the Arabs who colonized North Africa and the Middle East, and they conquered. These were predominantly Christian countries, and they were subdued by the forces of Abu Bakr and Ali and others who came out of Arabia, and they conquered these countries. So, I mean, we could go, we could talk about, who is indigenous and who conquered. I would argue that the Jewish claim for that little country, in terms of being indigenous, is a better claim than the Arab claim. I'm not disputing the Arab claim. I just would argue that the Jewish claim is the better claim, and that Arabs actually are predominant in over 22 countries around the world. These are oil-rich, vast, resource-rich countries, and that Israel has none of that. Israel is not oil. It has no oil. They've got no population. It's tiny. And as far as Truman goes, recognizing Israel, the Nazis. Yeah, sure, the Zionists cooperated with the Nazis in order to get Jews to come to Palestine. Why not? It's too bad they couldn't have gotten more. As far as Truman goes, Truman, whether or not he was bribed, it's not all that relevant. The point is that everyone in the establishment told him not to recognize Israel because it wasn't in America's interest. The Israelis like to say, oh, it's America's interest. We're the best allies. That's a lot of bull. Israel's not right about that. It's not in America's interest to recognize and to deal with Israel because Israel doesn't have much in comparison to the Arab world, which is vast and oil rich. And that's exactly what Truman was told at the time by Secretary of State Marshall, by Secretary of Defense Forrestal, by the Council on Foreign Relations, by the entire rotten white supremacist international establishment. that did not support Israel, that in fact hated Israel. And that Truman, in spite of all of that pressure, he turned around and he recognized Israel. Now, whether he did it because he was bribed or not, I don't care. The fact is that he did it, and I view it as having a divine element to it. And in fact, right after he did it, Chaim Weizmann, the first president of Israel, arrived at the White House, giving him a gift of a Torah. And he said to him, God put you in your mother's womb so you would grow up to do what you've done. It's changed the history of the world. And he compared Truman to Cyrus. Now, Cyrus, of course, was the Persian emperor who defeated the Babylonians, and he wrote a decree commanding the Jews to go back to their homeland and to rebuild their temple. That's in the book of Ezra, which is part of the Christian, Decalogue. And so that to me is really the story here. There is Israel is it's a nationalist and religious movement at the same time. And it has both a nationalist and religious element to it, which should inspire all nationalist movements and religious movements around the world. The fact that Israel has gone through what they've gone through to retain and maintain their sovereignty and to develop this incredibly dynamic society that includes, by the way, Arabs and Muslims, should be an inspiration to all countries, especially Arab countries who want to get rid of their corrupt leadership and develop successful societies.
Can I get in here now?
Yeah, go ahead,
Yeah, please.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I want everybody to note that usually when anybody works with Germans, they call them anti-Semitic and they charge them with war crimes. But if you're a Zionist, you can work with the Germans.
No, before the Holocaust, don't forget.
But if you're a Zionist, you can work with them and it's not considered a war crime before or after the Holocaust. They will lock you up at 90 years old. They lock up 90-year-old Germans for war crimes. But if you're a Zionist and work with the Germans, you're not considered anti-Semitic, which I would like to discuss, and it's not considered a war crime at all. That's the hypocrisy of them. Also, when you try to slide away and say that the colonization is something that y'all learned from America, y'all also assisted in colonizing America too. Like Jewish people played a role in the slave trade. Insurance companies were created by Jewish people through the slave trade. Banks were established, right? So don't act like Jewish people are unfamiliar with colonization. Y'all are just as culpable as the other Europeans that colonized. So y'all know this work. When you say that this is religious, but you acknowledge the history of what y'all went to do to establish by colonizing, that is not religious. Nowhere in the Bible did God say, go colonize these people. And we want to talk about Abraham. That's going to be a whole nother ball of wax. I don't know if you're ready, but when the children of Israel went to take the land, he didn't tell them to colonize them. He actually said, have no dealings with them. Don't resurrect their God. Don't marry their daughters. Don't do any of that. He never said to colonize. He never said to enslave them. As a matter of fact, Deuteronomy 23:7 says, thou shalt not abhor an Edomite, for he is thy brother, nor the Egyptian, for thou was a stranger in his land. So if y'all coming in as the stranger, you actually broke Torah by then violating and causing mass genocide against the Palestinians because they welcomed you in. If we want to talk about Abraham, now that gets into the Bible or into the Torah, and then the conversation will have to be, do you have Torah rights to even be in that land? Which I would say no. My position is that you have no connection to Abraham at all. No, I'm sorry, let me rephrase. You do have connection to Abraham, but you're just not the chosen seed of Israel according to Torah at all. I got a quick, do you consider yourself an Ashkenazi Jew, or what type of Jew would you classify yourself as?
Probably Ashkenazi. I mean, my family came from, Poland, Belarus, that region.
Okay.
But yeah, they're Ashkenazi. They're not Sephardic, and they're not Mizrahi.
You know, Ashkenazi is from Japheth. They're not even from Shem.
I reject that. That's in
the Torah.
Well, first of all, the term Ashkenaz in the Torah is the word for Germany. Just like the word Sephard is the word for Spain. So you have Sephardic Jews who are from Spain.
Can I read the Bible?
These are just national terms. Doesn't describe the people.
Got you. So Genesis 10:3 says, I'm sorry, the 10:2. It says the sons of Japheth, Gomer, Magog, Madai, Javan, Tubal, Meshach, and Tiraz. Verse 3. And the sons of Gomer, Ashkenaz.
Right.
So you're not.
And the Ashkenaz settled in Germany and they became Germans.
But you're not Shemitic then. You're
no. The Jews are not German. Are we German? We are.
I would say you're German.
No, I would say I'm a Jew. Look,
You
the
can
Ashkenaz. It's sort of like, you know, in this country, we're called Americans, but we have different ethnic backgrounds. I mean, we're black, we're white, we're Hispanic, we're Asian, but we all call ourselves Americans. Germans, if you're in Germany, you're called German, but there are different ethnic backgrounds, and the Jewish people are a different ethnic background than the Germans.
So another question for you. So would anybody from Shem be able to use the term Semitic?
I suppose. I mean, these terms are sort of modern terms. They came from this German social theorist.
No, but biblically speaking.
Yeah, I would say so. And I think the Arabs are Semitic.
So why are they considered anti-Semitic? Why would we be considered?
I didn't say they are anti-Semitic. I mean, I think anti-Semitism is based. It started out, put it this way, it started out in the late 19th century by this theoretician, Wilhelm Marr,
right,
who was into race theory, and he developed all this business about the Semitic race, the Hamitic race who are black, the Japheth who are white, and et cetera, et cetera. And I don't know what he called Chinese people, but he developed this whole ridiculous, crazy race business.
But y'all run with it though. It can't be that crazy. Y'all ran with it. Y'all ran with it. Y'all use it to this day. Well,
wait a minute. Let me finish my point here.
Go ahead.
It started out as a racial term to describe Jews, and if you're against Jews, you're against them as a race. You're anti-Semitic. But in this day and age, and I think particularly since World War II and the Nazi Holocaust, it generally has an overall meaning of simply being anti-Jewish. That if you're anti-Jewish, it's not because you're racially anti-Jewish. The Nazis were anti-Semitic in terms of they viewed the Jews as a race, but they also were anti-Jewish in a political sense. They believed the Jews were involved in the conspiracy to rule the world, and a lot of the stuff in the Protocols of Zion, and a lot of the stuff was found in Karl Marx's work, that the Jews secretly run the governments, they run banks, all that kind of crap.
Hey, would anybody be in Germany? Excuse me, anybody in Germany actually Ashkenazi?
The Jews would be mostly. Some of them are Sephardic, but most of the Jews of Germany and Eastern Europe are Ashkenazi.
I mean, by Torah.
No, they're not. They're not literally Ashkenazi. They live in Ashkenaz, which is Germany.
Oh, what I'm asking you is there anybody? Let me say it differently. Is there anybody in Germany that's ethnically Ashkenaz?
Yes, the Germans.
So you said all the Germans are ethnically Ashkenaz?
I mean, from a biblical standpoint, yes. Just like all of the Spanish are Sephardic, because Sephard is the biblical name for Spain.
So now, then we can go on record that Arabian Palestinians, myself, we can't be anti-Semitic because we are Semitic, right?
I suppose. But if you want to look at the term Semitism in a racial context, yeah, you couldn't be anti-Semitic. You're right. Arabs are Semitic people. So yes, racially speaking, you're right. You'd be against yourself. I get that. However, as I said, like a lot of terms, they evolve over time, and now the word anti-Semitism has simply come to mean anti-Jew.
Right. So that's what I was going to say. So what you guys did was actually be more anti-Semitic than Palestinians or those of my kind that say we're Israel. Meaning this, you just ethnically, yes, Palestinians are Shemitic. I'm saying Shemitic because of Shem, but of course, Semitic is fine. And as well as us. But they are called anti-Semitic just because they're not fighting y'all because y'all are Jewish. That's not why they're fighting y'all. They're fighting y'all because you have invaded their land pillaged and killed their people, forced them to not have their way of life that they've had, and so they are just fighting back. And the propaganda, not evolution, because you said the word is evolved. The propaganda is if you say anything against that, you're anti-Semitic. But I say you guys have been anti-Semitic since you invaded Palestine because you've been doing nothing but slaughter Shemitic people. You understand that?
First of all, they are fighting Israel because they're anti-Jewish. You can say anti-Semitic. We could get into the game of semantics.
Just a quick question, I'll give it right back to you. If Chinese people did the same thing that y'all did, went into their land, divided Palestine in half and called it China, would they be anti-Chinese?
Well, look, we already went over my opinion on this. We disagree. Captain, we disagree on this. I would argue that the Jews are indigenous to that tiny country.
This is my hypothetical question, because you said that they're doing it because they're Jewish. So my hypothetical question is, if Chinese people did exactly what you guys did, went and divided Palestine in half, displaced the people, killed them, made them move, would they be considered anti-Chinese for fighting back?
Well, if that's what the Jews did, but I would argue that that's not what happened.
That's what y'all did. Y'all displaced them. Y'all divided the land.
No, I reject
that. They wanted their land divided?
I reject that. I reject that, Captain.
No, and I'll tell you. Asking, are you saying they wanted their land divided?
But the point is that it's a civil war between two people.
I ain't saying it's a civil war. I'm agreeing it's a civil war. What I'm saying is that Palestine want their land divided and taken from them.
No, they wanted the whole thing
because they already had. Right. So
at least the radicals did.
Right. So if y'all didn't do that,
we were willing to share it.
Y'all was not willing to share it because according to the Belfort Act, y'all didn't like the Belfort Act. The Belfort Act said 75,000 immigrants can come in, y'all could build, but you had to leave the Palestinians' religious and way of life alone. And y'all didn't like that. So you can't say that y'all wanted to live in peace.
We can get into the weeds here, but I would argue that the Palestinian Arabs would have been left alone if they had not started to commit atrocities against the Jews. And the Jews fought back. And they did so, and they have nothing to apologize for. 1920, you had bloody Passover. This radical by the name of Haj Amin al-Husseini comes down and he basically agitates a riot against the Jews. This was the first time it happened, where 50 Jews were slaughtered at the Western Wall in Jerusalem praying. Mm-hmm. They were not fighting back at the time. They didn't have any kind of militias.
Who wasn't fighting back? You talk about the Jewish people wasn't fighting back?
No. At that point, they hadn't. They were basically farmers, and they were not set up to engage. They reacted to the bloody Passover attack by establishing militias and fighting.
Right, and that was. But in the 1930s, those same Palestinians invited y'all in. And when you think about it, y'all should have showed them more love than anybody on the planet, because no other nation, your white brothers, would not let y'all come. But here it comes, your Shemitic brothers, the ones that you call anti-Semitic, your Shemitic brothers.
I think that you're viewing this with somewhat of a rosy glasses, if you don't mind my saying.
Oh, hell no.
Some of them invited them in, and others slaughtered them, like Haj Amin al-Husseini, who would launch these agitations, and he would start to kill the Jewish settlers wherever he could find them. They fought back, and you had the Civil War, and the Jews won.
Just so I could go on the record, I'm not pro-Palestine. I started this this conversation by saying that I can speak from both sides. I can look at what the Israelis have done, what the Palestinians have done, and then I make my judgment off of them. So because y'all have been forcing colonization since the 1890s, y'all have made that decision to colonize Palestine. Colonize Palestine.
I don't view it as a colony.
You just agreed that Scherzer was colonizing.
No, he was admiring the colonial European.
He wasn't just admiring; that was his blueprint.
But, listen, no. As I said, in order to colonize, you have to have a country that you operate from. Or
you can have backing, which is why I read the letter that Rothschild received that they had backing to colonize from the British.
Right.
So they
Okay.
had, yo, you didn't like that one. Yeah. So
No, all right, look, I'll grant you that,
Right.
the Jews
So
did whatever they had to do to further Zionism, which I was not, and I'll state my own bias here. I am a Zionist, or I'm pro-Zionist. I believe in the Zionist enterprise.
Right, but what I'm saying is, I don't want you because you talk like a Jewish person, you could sound sympathetic and correct, but it's not correct because you made it seem like the only way you can colonize is if you have a nation or land of your own, which by default is true. The only other way you can colonize is if you get backing from another country that does have land and the military and stuff of their own.
All right. You've added that wrinkle to it, and I'll agree to that.
That's history. That's history.
Fine. I'll agree to that.
So what that said is
the Arabs had their own backers
Wait.
Haji al-Thani traveled around all of the Arab countries raising money
you would have
to agitate against the Jews. So, I mean, there were backers on all sides.
But you would have to
say, war, and the Israelis fought it and won.
But you would have to say that you guys were on the offense of colonialism and the Palestinians was on defense because they.
No,
So take it off of Israel.
Wait a minute, Captain. We could go back and play this tape again. What I said was that the settlers, what you call colonialists, both Arab and Jew, essentially started arriving en masse around the same time, late 19th century. The Arabs started settling there because they wanted to take advantage of all the modern technologies and money and business that the Jews brought with them. So it's not quite the way the Arab side portrays it, that somehow the Jews showed up and that they just simply took over the country. Both populations started to settle in there around the same time. Both populations made the same claims, and I respect the Arab claim. I simply argue that the Jewish claim is the better claim. It's a superior claim. It's a reasonable claim to have that tiny country, given the fact that Arabs stretch all the way from the African coast right up to the South Pacific, the Arab and Muslim countries. The Jewish claim is a very proper and modest claim of that tiny speck of land that the Bible does tell us to take possession of. Book of Deuteronomy, it lays out the exact borders of what God commanded us to take. It's from the Jordan River to the sea, what the Palestinians call from the river to the sea. And in the north, you had Dan, which was a settlement that is now at the very northern tip of Israel. And in the south, you had Beersheba, which is still there. It's an ancient city. The only land that technically Israel is actually occupying that is not biblically commanded is a stretch of desert that goes south from Beersheba to the Gulf of Elat. That's called the Negev, which is the Hebrew word for desert. Other than that, Israel exists exactly in the borders that God, the Lord God, King of the universe, commanded that they take possession of. And those are very modest and tiny borders.
If I could just correct one thing.
Sure.
The Arabs and them, they came in the 1800s, 370,000 at that time to 10,000 Jews. So they were in that land predominantly.
Both people were in that land. I mean,
but when we talk about majority, 370,000 to 10,000, it's like a speck.
Okay, I'll agree with that. They had a majority, but the point I'm making is that most Arabs today who claim to be indigenous Palestinians arrived around the same time the Jews arrived.
Okay, so now when we get to this biblical part, right? When you say that biblically y'all have a right to that land, your position is that biblically y'all are the children of Israel?
Of Israel, that's right. Yes, that is my position.
How do you substantiate that?
Okay, well, I substantiate it by simply looking at history. Joshua crossed the Jordan River, fought the Battle of Jericho. The 12 tribes entered the land. They took possession of the different regions that they were told to take possession of in Deuteronomy. Eventually, they united under first King Saul and then King David to form a united kingdom. It reached its pinnacle of power under Solomon, who became corrupt because he had 1,000 wives. And then afterwards, it divided into two states, Israel and Judah. Israel was conquered by the Assyrians and taken into captivity, never to be heard from again. Judah, and some of them settled in Judah. Judah survived another 100 years or so, and eventually was taken into captivity by Nebuchadnezzar and went into exile on the banks of the Babylon. We know this from the prophets. We know it from the book of Ezra.
But no,
Eventually, the Babylonians were conquered by Cyrus, who commanded them to return to their country. They did. That's history. Under Ezra, they rebuilt the temple.
But that's not what I'm at. Okay.
Well, you have to trace a history of our people.
No. What I'm saying is, so I believe that we are the children of Israel. You believe that you are the children of Israel.
And I'm making my case. I'm making how it happened.
Okay. I got you. Good. I'm sorry. Good.
All right. So then, anyway, Ezra reestablished the Judean state under the Persian sponsorship. Eventually became independent. That's what the Hanukkah story is all about. They kicked out the Greeks. They became sovereign under the Hasmonean dynasty.
Right.
Eventually, Rome came in under Pompey and created a client state under Herod, who was evil. And then they had a rebellion. They fought the Jewish wars, according to Josephus, which they lost in 70 AD. And Jerusalem, the temple was destroyed. They had an uprising about 100 years later, the Bar Kokhba rebellion, which they also lost. But they continued. They continued with the writing of the Talmud. And that documents how they remained in their communities, along with the Samaritans, who many people say are actually descended from the last 10 tribes. And that continued right up through the Roman and Byzantine times, right through the Christian times, until finally under the Byzantine Emperor Herodotus, they rebelled and became sovereign again briefly. And that sovereignty was eventually defeated by Herodotus, who 15 years later was defeated by the Muslim invaders. So that brought us to the modern times. Now, ever since then, the Jews of the Holy Land continued there. They basically, the numbers went down, but there was always an attempt to return. There's a historic movement that has occurred in every century to return to that country, until eventually they did. And they finally achieved sovereignty in 1948. That's the history. We are the same people. Why would you think, I mean, can you trace your ancestry back to that?
Yeah.
I mean, if we have to talk about this in racial terms, yeah, I don't think so.
Okay, so what I could do is exactly what you just did.
Okay.
Is I can give that same history, and then where I would branch off from you is in 70 AD when Jerusalem fell, Jews fled into Africa, specifically the west coast of Africa. We kept our records in the west coast of Africa. That's why you could see ancient maps where it would say land of Judah, or it would say Negro land. You would see that. And so when it came time for us to come over here in the transatlantic slave trade, them Africans knew exactly who they were selling. They was not selling fellow Africans. They were selling Israelites that they was getting off of our land. A famous slave hero, Harriet Tubman, she knew she was an Israelite. Her family knew they was Israelites. When they go back to tribes in Africa known as the Ashanti tribe, XYZ like that. So for us, now what I was looking for is for you to pair the Bible up with what you said. So like when I look at Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter, when it talks about the curses that we would endure, one of those curses in Deuteronomy 28 and 68 says we would be brought into Egypt again, which is bondage with ships. That's the transatlantic slave trade. And it says, there you shall be sold for bondmen and bondwomen. We were the ones sold for bondmen and bondwomen. And when it says no man shall buy you, meaning nobody would redeem you except the Savior or Messiah, which will come to redeem us. So then that would be my position. Also, I could go even further and say when Roman ruled, Roman didn't fall in a day. So when Rome eventually fell, black people actually ruled Europe. I'm saying black because that's the general term, but I would say Israelites ruled Europe for a time. That's what they call.
I agree with that. That's right. That's historic. In fact, the Septimus dynasty in Rome, they were black.
Right.
Septimus Severus was black.
I
mean, the Romans didn't have any issue with race. I mean,
well,
Romans were black and white. I mean, it's not,
Yeah, race didn't really become a thing until slavery became.
I agree.
Became business. So when we ruled and they called that the Dark Ages, that's why even Benjamin Franklin, anybody can look this up. He said we didn't want America to be black like Europe. That's a quote from Benjamin Franklin.
Well, the original Americans viewed Scottish people as black. I mean, it's sort of
they were. Thank you, because they
I know that.
They call them swarthy. So when you say
exactly
the history, now you and I have both traced history. So the only other place we can go to determine who's Israel and who's not is back into that Bible. For example, when Moses met the Most High at the burning bush, he was told to put his hand in the bosom. When he took it out, it was white as snow, like a white man's hand would be. When he put it back in and pulled it back out, it went back like his other hand. You see where I'm going with it?
I do. Look, I don't disagree with a word that you're saying.
Right.
That first of all, the ancient Israelites were probably a lot darker than eventually the Jews became through intermarriage. I don't disagree with that.
Right.
And I also don't disagree that a lot of the Jews after the destruction of the temple did flee to Africa. In fact, welcome to the tribe. We're Jews.
Man, if you
I don't disagree with you at all. And in fact, there's a group of several black tribes.
What just happened?
No, we're both from the welcome home to the tribe. I mean, look, there are black tribes in Zimbabwe who practice Judaism, and they always have. They probably arrived there after the temple was destroyed. I don't disagree. Look, there are now black tribes coming in from Ethiopia and Somalia who are settling in Israel.
Okay, but Ralph, I'm gonna tell you something, Ralph. I see why the Jewish man is the top white man on the totem pole, because his slick talk is above reproach. He heard all that I said, and he said, "Welcome home. We're Jews." Like we're
both Jews. We're both of the same.
He did not say.
And by the way, I don't consider myself to be white either.
Well, white. That's why I was saying earlier when I was saying black, I was like that. That's
no contract.
Right. I was, even when I said in Europe they were black, I said that's not what we would call them back then. That's kind of like words that we use today. But to get back to the point, we are not the same. Here's how you know. Like, although you're saying that on this stage tonight, I don't think nobody in the audience believes you, because when we look at the history of interaction between, you mentioned Ethiopians. If you go back to the children of Dimona that tried to go back into Israel, they were all returned home. They were never allowed.
Well, no, they were allowed to stay, but Israel didn't allow more of them to come.
No.
They're still there. They're still there in Dimona.
That's a lie. I'm just trying to find an article so I could just speak intelligently about it.
Okay.
But that's not true. Hold on. Let me see if
I think there's still a lot of them are still there. Israel did put a stop to their immigration into Israel. That's true.
Here we go.
It did not recognize their Jewishness. You're right.
Right. So it says this is from AP News. After decades of struggle, dozens of African Hebrew Israelites face deportation. This is in.
Yeah, but they're still there. I mean, I'm sure something.
This is July 20, but they don't do that to y'all though.
No, they don't. You're right. They don't recognize them as Jews. You're right. Absolutely right.
Right. So when you say welcome home, I would get killed going over there with
you. Well, wait a minute. But they do recognize the Jews from Ethiopia as Jews, and they're coming in.
Let me find that one. Let me find that one for you. In case you think that. Oh, this is the one I want.
Oh, let me read this real quick before I forget, because a question got sent in. Said it's from Galactic. He says, "Would Captain be okay if we rounded up all blacks, put them on a boat, gave them guns, and let them have Israel? I think it would solve a lot of problems." That's what he says. What he said with his. Captain like that. All right, go ahead. Sorry, I want to make sure I got that in.
No problem, Ralph. So now this is March of 2022. Remember, he just said they ain't rejecting the Ethiopians that say they Jews and want to come home. High Court rejects petition allowing thousands of Ethiopians to immigrate to Israel. Injunction lifted on government plan to bring people with Israeli relatives who are eligible for citizenship. Immigration minister. These immigrants waited for no reason. The High Court of Justice has rejected an appeal that prevented the government from bringing over Ethiopians eligible for Israeli citizenship, and thousands of Ethiopian refugees will arrive shortly. Immigration and absorption Minister Penina Tamano Shadow said Tuesday. In November, the government approved the plan to let some of them in there, but they rejected that. So when you say that we're the same, when you say, because if it's about the diaspora that Jewish people always talk about, then you will everybody come in, which is why I said earlier, Jewish people are the most anti-Semitic people that exist today. You have no love for your fellow Semitic brethren at all. Now, if you can,
we also have a Jewish identity. And look, I mean, first of all, there are Black Ethiopian and Yemenite Jews arriving now in Israel. I'm not saying Israel's perfect in that way, but they are there. Look, I have 4 cousins in Israel. My cousin and his wife emigrated to Israel in 1960s, mainly because he didn't want to go to Vietnam. And so he went to Israel and he fought in the Israeli army. They had 4 children. Of those 4 children, 3 of them are married. Well, one of them is married to a Yemenite Jew who's Black. Mm-hmm. The others are married to Mizrahi Jews who are Arab. I mean, that's the condition of Israel now. It's no longer just the Ashkenazis. It's a very integrated country. It's probably the most racially diverse country in the world, actually. And that the Ethiopian Jews are arriving in Israel, and they're great Jews. There's no question about their Jewishness. Now, you're talking about the Dimona situation. I don't think that they converted to Judaism. I mean, they were Christians.
No. They not only did they convert. I mean, I remember they put the video up. It's so sad. They converted, gave their children up to the IDF. That's the military, right?
Yes.
They gave their children up to the IDF. They did everything that y'all asked for, and you still was trying to deport them and get them.
All right. Well, look, I probably agree with you here. The rabbis that run Israel they do tend to be a bit corrupt. I mean, they wouldn't recognize Trump's conversion. It's ridiculous.
I would say racist, but now back to
probably
right back.
I would agree with you on that.
Thank you, but back to why I say is your people and the Palestinians have no right to that land. As I just broke down Deuteronomy 28 and 68, as I just broke down Moses, Samson had braids in his hair. 7 locks is what they said. That's a braid. Okay. Solomon said, I am black, but comely. That's what Solomon said. So how do we go from being these nice brown skinned brothers with braids in their hair to now you pale cats with yarmulkes on with side locks that you just twist to the side that ain't braids, you just say they locks.
No, they use tippity
So you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of when you say American today, you think of the white man being American. You don't think about the Native Indians and the Hispanics that was here long before they came. So that's kind of what you guys did. You displaced. That's how you know you're good at colonizing, even if you ain't got a land, because even when you wasn't in the land of Israel, you displaced the whole race of people by claiming to be Israel when you're not.
Well, first of all, look, I would agree with you in that.
My question. I just want to include my question before you go. Yeah. What happened to the complexion? How did we go from this beautiful brown to this pale shit?
Well, first of all, I mean, I'll agree with you that the American Jews have done everything they can to pass as white. I'll agree with that. Just like Italians and have passed as white. I mean, and they're not necessarily. Jews tend to be racially similar to the countries where they live. I mean, French Jews look French, German Jews look German, Chinese Jews look Chinese, and African Jews look Black. It's just, I don't know if it's because of intermarriage or what, but, there is that tendency. And also, because the original Israelites were darker, I mean, I think Jesus was probably Black. And that they certainly were.
He was a Jew. What else would he?
He was a Jew.
Yeah.
And so he was darker than the Jews are today. But that doesn't necessarily mean, and I hope you don't think I'm being controversial by saying this, but that doesn't mean that all of Africa is Jewish. You had Black people in Africa that the Jews went to.
Right.
And then they intermarried with.
Right.
So, you could have, there certainly is a strain, ethnically speaking,
Right.
racially speaking,
Right.
of Jews who are black in Africa.
Mm.
And a lot of them are moving to Israel. But it doesn't mean that all blacks are Jews, and it doesn't mean that all Jews are black.
Okay, so the caucasity of Jewish people is insane to me. I asked him to show me how we go from this beautiful brown to this pale shit. He started talking about Italians and Africans. We don't believe everybody in Africa.
I just said it's intermarriage. I mean, there's just like
intermarriage, and now everyone today that's considered a Jew is pale. So
first of all, we're not pale. Do I look as pale as someone
Yes.
from Ireland?
Yes.
I'm not. I only that's because I have a light on.
Yeah. Well, you're gonna try to turn the light off and think you can.
I'm not that pale.
Man, you look like a ghost, man.
I'm as white as a sheet, right? Well,
Yes.
look, I mean, I still
Wait.
ethnically, racially, I mean, I still have certain
But this is
aspects that are not the same as somebody from Norway.
But this is what's important, because the Bible prophesied that there would always be war in the Middle East, because that land does not belong to any of y'all. It doesn't belong to you. It don't belong to the Palestinians. I can recognize Holocaust when I see it, though. But just like in history, I can recognize what Hitler did to you guys was a Holocaust. What the America did to blacks and Native Indians was a Holocaust. And what y'all have done to the Palestinians since y'all invaded that land is a Holocaust. There is no denying it, but y'all create this anti-Semitism scary. It almost reminds me of like the LBGT. Like, you can't say nothing about that community and then they'll come down on you. And you can't say nothing about, you can't even have a difference of opinion with Jewish people. Like, I give you a lot of credit to have this conversation with me and then not be offended at what I'm saying, because I don't believe that I'm having an anti-Semitic conversation at all. But
neither do I.
Right, but most people that I have this conversation with would call it anti-Semitic, because I differ with the Jewish being able to colonize a people and I just be okay with it when I should not be okay with it. But what I do want to establish is that so far he has not proven that they are the people of God according to the Torah or Tonic. And even when he brought up Jesus, Jesus was from the tribe of Judah. When you go to Acts 13:1, that word Niger means black. That's where the word nigger comes from. The word Niger means black, and that's what they describe the disciples as. So up until 70 AD, they were still black in complexion.
I don't know
how y'all, but you deny that they black today, though.
No, I just said that there are plenty of black people in Africa who can trace their ancestry.
Y'all gonna let a black man come and rule Israel? Y'all gonna let a black Jew?
If he's a Jew, yes, of course.
I'm a Jew.
In fact, there's already been a black prime minister of Israel, I think.
I'm a Jew. Can I come and rule Israel?
If you can show that you're a Jew, and if you're
listen, man, put the word in for me. I'll come. Listen, I would. I'll gladly come back and rule.
I also want to talk about this whole business of anti-Semitism, because
no problem.
I agree with you in that the Jews were very touchy about this, and we do abuse the term. Anybody that doesn't agree, not only with Jews, but because the left has become so powerful within the Jewish community, anybody that doesn't agree with the left-wing agenda is called an anti-Semite.
Right.
If you're against abortion, you're anti-Semitic. If you're against gay marriage, you're anti-Semitic. It's ridiculous,
right?
And it's wrong, and it's an abuse of the term. I would also add to the fact that black people in this country have done something similar, right?
Mm-hmm.
Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton, they go to a corporation and they say, hey, put us on the board of directors.
Right.
Hey, this person, this and that, or else we're going to call you racist. Anybody that disagrees is called racist. This is a terrible abuse for Jews, for blacks, for gays, for anybody to use their agency to try to accuse others as a way to assert privilege. And it's wrong. And I totally reject it. I think the ADL is terribly wrong. If you read my book, you see I did a whole chapter on them.
I didn't get to that part yet. I got up to Marx and Hitler. I got up to Marx and Hitler. I wanted to play this Hitler clip, but I don't know if I'm gonna get banned.
No, please play it. Nothing like a little Hitler,
It's
right?
translated.
Why not?
Well, it backs up. Hitler says what you said in your book. Hitler says, hold on, I play this. I did this for Ralph. Ralph likes when I play Hitler. So
Sure. Let's hear it. Let's
We
go.
turned off Kick, so yeah, go ahead. You should do it. We did that for a reason because I knew.
let me see
we
if
had
I
the
can find.
captain tonight.
Let me
Go
see.
ahead.
Let me see if I can find it real quick. Hold on. Let me see if I can find it quick. Hold on. I'm just looking for it. Oh, is it in my? Oh yeah, I got it right here. Let me share my screen.
Okay.
This is they translated his German into English. So let me share my screen here. Let me go here. Let me share. Present. Where are you at? No, not that. High court rejects. Oh, wait, window. Here we go. All right, there we go. Share audio. Just let me know if y'all can hear this, okay? This is Hitler.
Okay.
Für Richtiges, ob du glaubst.
Can y'all hear that? Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Für Richtiges, ob du glaubst, dass ich pleite gewesen bin. In connection with the Jewish question, I have this to say. It is a shameful spectacle to see how the whole democratic world is oozing sympathy for the poor, tormented Jewish people, but remains hard-hearted and obdurate when it comes to helping them, which is surely, in view of its attitude, an obvious duty. The arguments that are brought up as an excuse for not helping them actually speak for us Germans and Italians. For this is what they say. 1, we, that is the democracies, are not in a position to take in the Jews. Yet in these empires there are not 10 people to the square kilometer, while Germany, with her 135 inhabitants to the square kilometer, is supposed to have room for them. 2, they assure us we cannot take them unless Germany is prepared to allow them a certain amount of capital to bring with them as immigrants. For hundreds of years, Germany was good enough to receive these elements, although they possessed nothing except infectious political and physical diseases. What they possess today, they have by a very large extent gained at the cost of the less astute German nation by the most reprehensible manipulations.
I think that speaks volumes. What do you think about that?
Well, I mean, I get into this also in my chapter on
That's for you, Ralph.
Nazism.
That's for you, Ralph.
I'm the moderator. I don't have
No.
any thoughts. Go ahead, Charles.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Charles.
Oh, okay. That the Holocaust, I would argue, even though that the Nazis were responsible for it and Hitler was responsible, it represents a worldwide social experiment by an international order. And let me tell you what I mean. In 1938, just before the outbreak of World War II, the U.S. hosted what was called the Evian Conference in France, in the spa community of Evian. And countries from around the world sent delegations to this conference because they were trying to figure out what to do with the, quote, Jewish problem, what to do with Jewish refugees who were trying to get out of Germany. At that point, things had gotten so bad that they just had to get out. And what the solution they came up with was to do nothing. Now, there were plenty of countries in the world that would have welcomed the Jews. The Jews were not asking for handouts. They were mostly middle-class, educated people, very skilled people in all the professions. You know, they were doctors, they were artists, they were lawyers, they were businessmen. You know, the Jews are we value education and we value success. That's one of the hallmarks of Judaism. And countries like Latin American countries, Canada, the Caribbean countries, they were willing to welcome Jews because they could have had the Jews help them become better. You know, the Jews could have helped them with improve their economy. But this Evian conference shut the door to that and forbid that. And right after the Evian conference, a boatload of Jews who paid for the boat, the Liberty, went to Cuba. And when they got there, they had to turn back because the U.S. State Department and other organizations said you can't let the Jews come in. And so they had to send them back to Germany where they all ended up perishing in the Holocaust. So it was a social experiment. And I bring it up because for whatever reason, the international order decided that the Jews were to be destroyed at that time. Now, I could get into why that happened, but the point I make here is that it's important to understand that the Holocaust is something that could happen to any group of people who might be targeted in that way, even to this day. I mean, I don't want to, it could happen to Trump supporters. It could happen to people who oppose the COVID virus, right? People who oppose the vaccine. There were comments made at the time that, oh, these are evil people. They're going to put them in concentration camps. I only note it because it's a lesson, not because they were Jews, but because they were targeted. And there's no question that they were targeted in Europe, and they were sealed into Europe. And when the Nazis occupied Europe, they occupied most of the continent. And they hunted down every Jewish man, woman, and child and put them into concentration camps with the idea of ultimately liquidating them.
I just want to add my part on that too. I think
Yeah.
what this speaks to, even with your statement, is that the fact that y'all only hold Germans to the fire, and not the other nations that rejected y'all, is astounding. Meaning y'all don't hold Americans to the fire, because by your logic, you're saying they was a Confederate against y'all. By your logic, you're saying the Europeans were Confederate, did not want to accept y'all. And you know what makes it more bad for y'all? The fact that the Palestinians let y'all come in and y'all still killed them. It makes it real bad.
Well, first of all, the British controlled Palestine at the time, and they had ships off the coast stopping Jews from going there.
Wait, hold on. I had drank some water. I wasn't really stopping.
I'm sorry.
No,
I'm sorry.
No. It's no big deal. It's been a good conversation. So
I think so too. It's really been good. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry,
And so, the reason why I wanted to point that out is that even with all your white brothers rejecting you, and then the one non-white brothers helping you, you chose to slaughter that person. You didn't choose to be against all of them that wouldn't accept you in. And that was Hitler's point, because Hitler said was the other nations won't let y'all in, and they have way more space, where Germany is more crowded, and they want us to keep you in. They want us, if we send you out, they want Germany to send you off with a care package so that you can go back to the other land. Whereas maybe if the other nations would have helped Hitler and them get y'all, maybe by acceptance or either by helping with financials, maybe it would have never been a Holocaust.
Exactly. And that's my whole point.
Right. So essentially, you couldn't put the Holocaust only on Hitler. You would have to put it on every other country. And I think that's
you put it on the whole world, because the whole world conspired by shutting the door to any Jew getting out. They turned Europe into.
So now let's flip it. So now let's flip it on the subject that we're talking to today with Gaza.
Okay.
America helps Israel. British helps Israel. All the Palestinians got is Iran, which ain't got nowhere near the nuclear weaponry that America, British, and you guys have. Aren't y'all doing the exact same thing?
No.
With other people? What y'all are trying to do what Hitler did to y'all, to the Palestinians.
No. If Gaza stops the tunnels, the missiles, the gas balloons, the hang gliders, the attacks on Israel, then Gaza will have peace. You know, Israel doesn't want to fight Gaza.
You know what you didn't say? If we leave their land alone and really divide and give them their own land, give them back their religious freedom, which is what the Belfort Act said. Of course, like y'all ain't even respecting your own treaty, which is in the Bible, like Psalms 55:20. It says his words smooth and butter, but war was in his heart. If y'all just abided by the treaty, maybe y'all would show the Palestinians that, hey man, we signed this treaty, man, we messed up. So what we gonna do? We gonna pull out, give you your land, and then maybe that will stop.
Because Israel did with Gaza, and they would have done more had the Gazans been willing to live peacefully alongside Israel.
No.
They were not. They attacked Israel.
No. Well, you got to understand, like when the Native Indians, when the white man came over here to America, y'all did that to the same Native Indians what y'all doing to the Palestinians. Y'all did that.
Well, not exactly. I mean, look, the Palestinians have had every opportunity
Wait, hold up.
to share the country, that tiny country with Israel.
And this is the part where Jewish people don't want to play the role. Not only did y'all play a role in slavery, but just like Hitler learned them camps from what white Americans did to the Native Indians with the reservations. That's historical facts.
I think he actually learned it from the British, what they did in South Africa.
This is the same set of white people. So when they came over here with the 13 colonies, them the same white people. They just came.
I mean, I don't think that America set up concentration camps for the Native Americans.
No, I didn't say concentration camps. I said reservations.
Well, fine. I mean, look, if they had set up a reservation for Jews,
but they both slaughtered the same. And so that colonization tactic is what y'all are doing to the Palestinians. The Palestinians just keep fighting. And the land is not, massive. The land is not as massive as America is to where y'all can surround them and wipe them out. And because the TV is here and the internet is here, you can't just drop a bomb and just get rid of them and then just write it off as history. Like Palestinians were so bad. You can't do that. Like, they say the Native Indians were so savage, we had to civilize them. Just like y'all did. Well, I can't say y'all. Just like that American alliance that I brought out earlier. What they said was, let me get this real fast. What the Allied powers said was the Asian and African possessions were not ready to govern themselves. That's what you're essentially saying to the Palestinians.
Not at all. We gave them Gaza. They could have created a peaceful state there.
No.
And also, by the way, I think the Nazis were inspired by the Soviets and by their setting up of the Cheka and the Gulag.
I looked it up. So if you go to this is on the History Channel. It'll tell you how the Nazis were inspired by Jim Crow.
Oh yeah, no question, and by the eugenic racism.
Yeah, I was inspired
by
y'all was
people like Madison Grant and going back to Darwin and this whole racism.
Like Ralph's face. Y'all was inspired. Y'all was inspired by him too. That's
everybody. Look, the entire Western world unfortunately was inspired by that. And it's wrong.
But no, okay. So if it's wrong, then you should start a petition to your fellow Zionists to stop trying to colonize. That's the only solution.
Look all right, now that we're on the topic of solutions, first of all, Israel, the Gaza had every opportunity, as I started with, to create a peaceful, sovereign Arab state there, and it would have gotten more, but instead they chose to start killing Jews and fighting Israel. And Israel fought back, and they have every right to. Now, at the end of the day, once this whole thing is over and Israel has defeated Hamas.
I don't think it's ever going to be over.
Well, maybe not, but at least the active part will be, and there'll be a peaceful border there. I actually advocate that Israel offer citizenship to Palestinian Arabs as Israeli citizens who are living in Judea, Samaria, and Gaza, under the condition that they undergo a 1-year training period of what it is to be an Israeli, and that they take a loyalty oath to the state of Israel as a Jewish state. I think if they're willing to do that, then they should become Israeli citizens. Now, the Israeli Arabs, which make up about, 10% of the country.
What do you mean by the question?
They are very successful people. Do you know that an Israeli Arab sentenced a former Israeli prime minister to prison? She's a judge. I have a friend in Israel who told me that a lot of the Israeli Arabs are into the business of pharmacy for some reason, just like in America, a lot of Greeks are involved with pizza. Different ethnic groups get involved with different professions, and they're very successful Israelis. They're loyal to the state of Israel. The only thing that they can't do in Israel, and this is a problem, is they're not allowed to join the IDF, other than Druze and Bedouins who are allowed to be in the IDF. And the reason for that is that Israel's afraid that if they have a war, they might not have loyalty to the state. Hey. That's a problem, and they need to resolve it by letting them have some kind of national service. But other than that, Israeli Arabs are full citizens of the state of Israel.
So
other than that, the prime minister has to be a Jew.
Well, first I want to call. Well, you're gonna vote for me to be the prime minister, right?
So you have to become a Jew.
I'm already a Jew. See that? I think now Now remember, just go back in time. When I brought out the history, he said, "Welcome home." We
Yeah,
didn't.
but being a practicing Jew is,
Hold on. Listen, I keep Torah. I keep my Passover is April 20th. If I keep the Torah, I keep the Sabbath, I keep all the laws because I'm a Jew. He just
okay.
earlier he said, "Welcome home." That's why I told
Well,
you.
then yes, if you're a Jew and you're practicing
Got you. Hold on.
Judaism, then yeah, you're a Jew.
I'm about to tell you something else too. The thing about the Jewish man, I told you, Ralph, he's the creme de la creme of the white man. Does he know how to butter you up and make you think you're something? Because him saying that I have to be a practicing Jew to be a Jew, a white Jew can be an atheist, he could be a homosexual, he still is a Jew. And still,
Well, he's a Jew if his mother is a Jew.
Wait, hold on. He said I have to be a practicing Jew. Even though I'm a Jew, even though he said, "Welcome home to Jews," soon as it got real, he said, "No, you got to be a practicing." Let you know.
To become Israeli,
but there's a difference between how he looks at black people and his own people, because he knows we're not the same. Because if a white Jew can be an atheist and still get the same rights, I should be able to go over there and get the same rights. Whether I'm practicing,
the way Israel defines it is, you're right. I mean, you don't have to be a practicing. I don't have to be a practicing.
Okay, listen, that double talk.
Well, but the point is, if you can show that, for example, that your mother is a Jew,
that's a snake. Speak with forked tongue.
No. Let's define it. The state of Israel and the Talmud say that a Jew is someone whose mother is a Jew, and they can show that.
Right.
And if you can show that your mother is a Jew,
right,
and you can get by the rabbis in Israel, and I'm not saying they're also great either, by the way.
Right. But now that's
they tend to be a little bit corrupt, as I mentioned.
Right.
Some of them are a little extreme. I mean, they wouldn't recognize Ivanka Trump as a Jew, which is horrible because she is.
But I tell you what, though, and this is why when we go back to the Torah, none of y'all, by what you just said, none of y'all are Jews, because the Torah say you're a Jew by your father. It ain't.
No. It says mother.
No, show me that. You pull it out in the Torah.
I can't pull up a text right now. That's maybe. I mean, I'm not. Look, I'm no rabbi.
Hey, let me ask you a question: Is it the 12 daughters of Jacob or 12 sons of Jacob?
Sons, but their mother was a Jew.
Their mother was Jew. Didn't exist until, first of all. Now I'm gonna educate you because we're in the Bible. Jew means you're from Judah. That's only one son of Jacob. There's 11 other sons. You got Levi, Benjamin, Simeon, Naphtali, Ephraim, Gad, Issachar. So there's 11 other sons. Jacob is an Israelite. Their mothers, it's 4 women that mothered the 12 tribes: Leah, Rachel, Bina, and Zilpah and Bilhah. Those are the 4 women. Those 4 women are not Jews. Jacob is an Israelite, and those sons that came out of Jacob became the patriarchs of the 12 tribes of Israel. So you're not an Israelite by your mother. You're an Israelite by your father. That's biblical.
Well, first of all, Judah, his mother was a Jew.
His mother was not a Jew.
His mother was Leah.
Judah is the first Jew.
Okay,
because
fine.
you're named after your son. That's like.
But let me ask you this, Captain.
Mm-hmm.
If Judah is the first Jew, then the tribe of Judah, along with several other of the tribes who Judah absorbed, they're the only tribe that actually maintained a public, conscious, functioning identity as Jews, because the other tribes have taken off into captivity. Nobody knows what happened to them.
Okay,
now, if you're talking to the British Israelites, say, well, they re-emerged in Europe as white people. Right. I don't believe that's their thing. I mean,
but
that's
you're white though. But you white. If you emerge as white, remember we just had the conversation that
over many centuries. Yes, I got lighter because of intermarriage.
Wait.
But yet the Jewish.
Wait. This is funny. How you gonna say these other Europeans that showed up as white and they Jews, but you white and showed up when you just said earlier they was brown like me?
Yeah, but you know something, Captain? You're probably blacker than most of the Israelis in the time of Jesus.
Oh, you said say that again? What you said?
What I'm saying is that if we want to talk race here, you are probably blacker in terms of skin color than the Jews of Jesus's day,
That's
because
cap.
they intermarried
That
with
is cap.
Africans.
Okay, wait, that's cap, but I don't want to leave this part.
Okay.
When we talking about being an Israelite, you're an Israelite according to your mother. This is the part I wanted. You mentioned that the other tribes, majority were scattered, right? Which is right. So,
Yes.
but some of the tribes were still there. Like when you read the New Testament, you see Anna from the tribe of Asher. Paul was a Benjamite. So when you see in the New Testament collectively the term Jews, it could be one of three things. It could be the tribe of Judah, it could be the southern kingdom, which would be Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, or it could be Jews collectively as a whole, right? So when you go through history, we can get a book called Lost Tribes and Promised Lands, where the Taino Indians and the Seminole Indians knew that they were from the tribe of Reuben and the tribe of Joseph.
Well, now you're getting into Mormon theology here.
No, that's
what they say. They say the Native Americans are descended of the 10 tribes. You know, these are interesting speculations. And the British Israelites say that Britain and France are the 10 tribes. Everyone claims to be the 10 tribes, but they don't know this because they didn't continue Judaism. The only tribe that continued with Judaism was the Judeans.
But y'all are not those people. Your conversion was 6. When did Islam convert?
7th century, I think.
Thank you. And yours was 6th century. The reason why y'all converted, when you get a good book called Chosen People, now I'm gonna give you some more of your history. When you get a good book called Chosen People of the Caucasus, in that history, it'll tell you the war between the Byzantine Empire and the Arabs, the Khazars in the middle. The Byzantine Empire was trying to get the Khazars on their side, and the Muslims was trying to get the Khazars on their side. The Khazars knew that Judaism or the Old Testament was the root to both of them, and just started saying they were Jews, but they were never actually Jews. The
Khazars, the royal family became Jewish.
And so then you got the 13th tribe written by Arthur Koestler, another Jewish man.
I have read that book, yeah.
Yeah, and he says you guys, it must be 13 tribes if you guys are Jews.
No. I read that book very carefully, and he does not say that.
That's
the title of his book. But I actually, let me just interject here because I did read his book. The Khazars were a Turkic nomadic people north of the Black Sea that the royal family did convert to Judaism after being visited by an Orthodox delegation, a Muslim delegation, and a Catholic delegation, and a Jewish delegation. They chose Judaism. But the majority of the Khazar people did not convert to Judaism. And some of them might have. They remained part of a pagan religion. And, you know, there's a lot of conspiracy theories about Ashkenazi being descended from the Khazars. There's no evidence of that, and I'll point to two.
Y'all are. That's why y'all wear them yarmulkes and them hats. That hat, they ain't in the damn Bible. That hat, that's from the Russian steppes. That's from Georgia Rock.
No, that came from the Talmud.
That's cap.
That came, yeah.
That's
Talmud.
You wear that hat. You have your head covered. You break.
That's Talmudic. That came from the Talmud, which comes from both Palestine and Babylonia. It had nothing to do with the Khazars.
God damn. Yeah, that's cap. When you put that on your head is actually covered. You can't have your head covered. That ain't in the Bible. Them big hats y'all wear. That all, you know why y'all wear that all black? Because y'all read Jeremiah 14:2 and said black into the ground. So y'all just wear all black. That's not it. That's not in the Bible.
No, it's in the Talmud.
The Talmud is not the Bible, though. Like,
no, I didn't say it was, but it's commentary on the Bible. Those are customs that came afterwards. They came during the Roman times.
But if we're establishing who the children of Israel are, the Torah supersedes Talmud.
Of course it does.
Thank you. So what you're saying doesn't match up with the Torah. You said you're a Jew by your mother. That's not the Torah. It's not in the Torah. In Numbers,
maybe it's Talmud. I mean, I don't know. It could be Talmud, but Talmud is a continuation.
Numbers 1:18 said you grabbed them by the seed of their father, not by the mother.
Well,
there ain't no tribe of Dinah. There ain't no tribe of Dinah There ain't no tribe of Leah. There ain't no tribe of no women. It's only
Yeah, but the women gave birth to the sons of Israel.
but the seed, like even in the story of Exodus, remember, they wanted to slay the men, the babies, the male babies. The women babies could live because male babies carry the seed. Women baby carry whatever seed is implanted in them.
Okay, look, I don't want to get into a Talmudic argument. All I know is that conventional Judaism holds that if the mother is a Jew, the child is a Jew.
No,
I think a lot of,
and
you know something, I think a lot of it has to do with proof of descent.
gotcha.
Because when the mother gives birth to a baby, you know that that's the parent. You don't necessarily know who the father is.
So my mama and daddy is a Jew. So you're gonna get me up in there so I could be the prime minister?
You'd have to go over with the rabbis of Israel. I mean, it's not up to me.
Let's go. Only thing I want them to do, I do not
Take it up with the rabbis of Israel.
I don't want that a moyo though. I don't want that a moyo practice, but
No, wait a minute.
That's basic. You have to do that.
no, I don't.
Are you talking about circumcision?
Yeah, I don't want no man nibbling on my penis.
No. That's listen. That's a bunch of bull. There is this weird. Wait a minute here. I want to answer that. There's this weird cult, probably comes from the Sabbateans, which was this subversive element in Judaism where you had people doing that. But that's not what they do. Okay, that's not what conventional Jews do.
I'm already circumcised. I don't need nobody coming to examine.
That's fine. You're good for it. Then you're good.
Unless it's a lady. I don't want no man.
No, don't. That's crazy stuff. That's these weird. Judaism has some rather unusual and somewhat weird cults that operate within. That's not conventional Judaism. They don't do that.
All right. I think we're kind of good. I don't know if there's anything else.
Yeah, well, okay. There was a super chat, and again, I don't. This might be
Any comments in the chat?
Just our problem. Yeah, there's been a ton of comments in the chat throughout.
Anything good? Read it
Well,
out.
yeah. I think some good. If you guys want some questions here at the end, send them in. But Revan said, Ralph, can you throw them off by asking them to debate how the true basic God, like the word God, is spelled? Was a super chat there, and that was a while back. So you guys can answer that if you want or not. But
Okay.
that was a super chat.
Captain, you want to take that one?
Can you say the question again? The word God is what?
How's it spelled?
In Hebrew or English?
I mean, he didn't specify. He just said, "How's it spelled?" I would think
God
English.
English
We all speak.
Yeah, the word God in English is just G-O-D. And
Well, how would you spell it in Hebrew then?
I think it's Yud K Vav K. There are 4 letters, and even then, it's forbidden in Judaism to pronounce the name.
Yeah.
Because it kind of anthropomorphizes God, turns God into a person. It has to be done because we don't know God literally as a person. God is beyond, it's in the supernatural world, not the natural world. We are creatures of the natural world. And so we don't actually know God. We don't literally walk with God. Abraham did, but we don't. So we don't pronounce the name of God because that essentially defines and diminishes the totality and the mystery of the creator of the universe.
Okay, but the reason why I said that when he said how it's spelled, God and Lord are 2 different things. Usually God can be Elohim, like for angels, or it could be the Most High God. Lord, he said Yohed Wave. We would say Yahweh, and we would spell it Yahweh, Yahweh. So I got that right. So that's how we use. But God could be Elohim or Elohim, depending on what dialect of Hebrew that you speak.
Or Eloheinu.
Yeah, what he said.
Elokeinu as a word. But yes, but these are all euphemisms. They're not the actual name of God. We don't know the name of God. Only God knows the name of God. We can only, we're only human. We're images of God.
Yeah, because even so like when Moses gave the name, he said, Yahweh was my name. So that's the name that we ascribe to the Most High. That's why most of the time I would agree with him on that. We don't just say the Lord's name, just right. To say it. We usually just say the Most High or God or something like that.
All right, fair enough.
Moses came close to it when he said, when he saw the burning bush, God said, "I am what I am."
That was a cut though to Moses for Moses asking that question, "Who shall I say?" Right. He wasn't. Meaning when I say cut, like that was him disrespecting Moses for even asking that question because he shouldn't have asked that question.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, this has been an amazing conversation, by the way. And I knew it was going to be good, but it exceeded even my
I
expectations.
enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Charles, I'm going to let, since you started off, I'm going to let you get your final thoughts first and tell people where they can find you as well as part of that, your final bit there. And then I'll let Captain go, and then we'll adjourn
Okay.
this debate.
Thank you, Ethan, as always, and thank you, Captain. You're a great intellect, and I really appreciate the conversation. To just bring things back to the question of Gaza and the question of Israel versus the Palestinian Arabs,
Slick as hell.
I would suggest that both sides make their case. Both sides have been locked in a civil war that has been bitter and has been intransigent, going all the way back. I would simply argue that the Israeli Jewish side is the better and superior side on a lot of different levels, spiritually, politically, nationally, and otherwise. And that I hope that the Arab people can coexist peacefully with Israel and that both sides can benefit as sovereign, national, religious states who are trying to serve their own people.
Captain, take it away, sir, and thank you.
Oh, and
Thank
also
you.
my book is available on Amazon. Thank you.
There you go. Now, Captain, you take it away, and I appreciate both you gentlemen being here tonight, giving us so much time. Captain, you've been here a lot. Charles, this is his second time, but appreciate you both.
Yeah, we could do a part 2 anytime, Ralph. You know, I love the platform. I actually bought your book, Charles, because I wanted to, especially when I saw it was just recently done, I think in January. So I knew I would have like the most up-to-date information of like your thought process because everybody thinks differently. So I didn't want to talk to you like I'm talking to Rabbi such and such. I wanted to speak to you directly. That's why I got the book. So I'm Captain Tazaryach of ICBK under Commander General Yohana. What I did love this dialogue. It was very amicable. And I think it shows that we can have a conversation that even in our differences, it doesn't mean that it has to be crazy or wild. I do think I showed where the genocide was at and why there'll never really be peace there, because one person's solution is bloodshed, another person's solution is submit or bloodshed. And neither one is going to, I don't think neither one is going to bend. They've been going to war since the 1900s when you do look at the history of it. So I don't see it never ending. And that's biblical prophecy because the land doesn't belong to either one of them. But again, like I said, good dialogue. I look forward to having more dialogues on your show, Ralph. Whoever you get, next, just let me know. It's always been excellent to be on your show. And that's my time. I appreciate it.
Thank you, sir, and I appreciate those kind words. We'll definitely have you back, and we'll definitely have you back too, Charles.
All right.
Thank you both once again here on the Kill Stream.
All right, take it easy, man.
Thank you.
All right, you gentlemen, take it easy.
All right, let me stop sharing. Let me go to my stream, y'all here. Hey, man, what did y'all think of that, man? Let me know what y'all thought. Nah. He got this song from the gate on the playback. When I brought up Scherzel and the colonization, you gotta look at his face. Yeah, like this nigga read. He read words. Yeah, that because remember, like he went on when he first went on, he went on for like 8 or 9 minutes. I didn't say nothing. And then when I came in there and start running that timeline of history, was big up to Abadia, Karab, Yahweh Allah. Them 3 brothers right there. All they did, Yahweh Allah was like, I hate them the most. So I got the whole time. Now I've been waiting for you to have this debate. So he got it all. Listen, I had a phone call with Karab and Yahweh Allah. Yahweh Allah giving me all it. Say it like this. I got it in order. You got to say it just like this, in this order, in this order. And it lined up perfectly. And then Abadia gave me some excellent information as well. But once that history came out, because he wanted to go to 2005. Once the history came out and we took the religion off of it, I was really surprised he came back to religion, but maybe because he was losing the secular argument, because the secular argument was it was just about colonizing. That was the argument. You was gonna say something? The secular argument, it was just about colonizing. So it wasn't no once he lost that argument, now he said, well, I'll just say I'm Israel. Prove to me you're Israel. He just started talking about Joshua and shit like that, but he ain't go nowhere in the Bible. And I'm gonna tell y'all, Jewish people don't know the Bible. They don't. The minute a so-called Jew tells you you're a Jew by your mother, that's always gonna be Talmudic. And that lets you know they don't read the Bible. They know more of the Talmud than they know of the Torah. Always remember that too. You want?
So I was gonna say, when he brought up that the attack by the Arabs in 1920, he left out the fact that was in retaliation to British occupation of Palestine. So it wasn't like they
just willingly went and attacked them, right?
They were one of the power groups of Palestine at the time was against British occupation, and the other one was more for like they were willing to negotiate.
Right. Yeah, that was heavy too. Then when he said, "Welcome home, you a Jew," then I was said, "You gonna bring me in there?" Well, if you convert to Judaism, which is heavy. Shout out to my brother Tally, because he the one text me like, and that's real. Like, you can be an atheist and you're still a Jew to them. Them Zionists that went into Germany, they don't charge them with war crimes. That worked with the Germans, they don't charge them with war crimes. They don't charge them with none of that. And the main reason for this conversation is so when people go back and watch this, you can see that Jewish people are colonizers. That's what they are. They colonized, they helped colonize North, Central, and South America, and they damn sure colonized Palestine. All right, so I ain't gonna take up too much time. I appreciate y'all rocking with me, man. Make sure y'all tune in tomorrow for Crossing Line Radio, 10 o'clock. Hey, Tally, I appreciate you rocking with me on the Clubhouse. My girl Ariella, appreciate you kicking whoever that was you needed to kick off. And until next time, what? Oh yeah, I'm sorry, y'all. Before I go, my Crossing Line Radio channel. What's the new channel called?
I think it's just
CTL Radio.
I'll tell you right now.
The Crossing Line. If y'all noticed when I went live, I only went on I only go live on this channel. I don't know what happened, but our CTL radio channel, we can't go live on. We do have a backup channel that we'll be utilizing. So you'll see that in the streams going forward. I was going to go live on that channel today, but I have to wait 24 to 48 hours before I can go live. So once we have that live, you want to say something about?
Yeah, more reasons to subscribe to crosslineradio.com.
Okay, well, we not okay. That's true. So tomorrow, y'all see that channel as well as this channel here. Is that it? That's the only channel, right?
That's the only channel, right?
Okay. All right. So with that, we'll see y'all tomorrow. Shalom.